Welcome to London Gatwick. I'm at the queue to check in for the first class check-in queue. I'm heading across to Cancun on the 777 in Club World. So once I get through the check-in, join me for this flight across the Atlantic to Mexico using the old Club World product.
Traveling the world on planes, trains, trams, and more. Join Mark Hopwood as he shows you some of the great journeys he's made. Let's travel to a whole variety of destinations. Remember to drop your comment below, like and subscribe, turn on the notification button, and never miss a video.
Welcome to the South Terminal at London's Gatwick Airport, home to British Airways since 2017, apart from the period during the pandemic. British Airways check you in Zone A. Plenty of desks if you're travelling in World Traveller Plus. I'm lucky as a gold card holder for British Airways to be able to use the first class check-in area, which is a bit of an odd phenomena at Gatwick because there are no first class cabins on any of the aircraft out, but of course they do have gold card holders, so they provide that facility. But it's quite busy. Easter Sunday, you might think a little bit quiet, but it was the beginning of the school holidays, and you can see quite a big queue here for the premium desks. But once we were through that, my two girls got a chance to meet some characters that were there to help keep the children happy in a busy terminal, and then we headed up to the British Airways lounges. At the first class lounge, once again a first class lounge in a airport with no first class flights, but it's a good facility. Of course, British Airways recognising the need to look after its gold card holders, even though they'll be travelling in Club World or Club Europe. So into the lounge, a variety of different seating areas in what is a relatively modest sized lounge, but it's perfectly adequate. Sofas, armchairs, some seats at desks for people who want to work. I quite enjoyed the lounge. I think I particularly enjoyed it because the views out over the terminal and the apron were quite good. You can see the windows there. We'll have a look at the planes in just a moment, but I thought we'd have a look at the food and beverage offer that's available here at Gatwick. It's mainly self-service, drinks, variety of sparkling wines, juices, and coffee is available as well. Hot food, a little bit on the limited side, very similar to the range at Heathrow. Good selection of salads. You make your own coffee and tea. And there's some nice cakes and pastries. Of course, a really good variety of soft drinks. And you can also make yourself an alcoholic drink with a variety of spirits and mixers available with crisps and nuts as well. So not a bad selection by any means. Clearly not the best lounge in the world, but it's not a bad facility, particularly bearing in mind that Gatwick is very orientated towards the leisure market. Good selection there of fresh fruit as well. So I enjoyed the lounge. Not many people working, not surprisingly. Easter Sunday, most people just chilling out, getting ready for their flight to head off on holiday, of course. And with the sad demise of the Spectators Terrace at London Gatwick, this is probably one of the best views you get actually anywhere in the airport of aircraft at their stands, of the apron, and of the runway operation, whether it's from 26 left or, as today, 08 right at London's Gatwick Airport. Quite a large variety of different airlines, some very familiar, some airlines at Gatwick that you won't see at London Heathrow, people like Wizz Air and Norwegian. And of course, British Airways have their short haul fleet dedicated here from a separate operation. The long haul fleet uses 12 777 aircraft with the occasional visitor from the London Heathrow fleet. So that's my aircraft, Golf Yankee Mike Alpha. We'll have a look at that in just a moment. But having been called to the gate, we then sat for quite a while before heading off down the jetty to board the aircraft for what is quite a long flight across the Atlantic and down the eastern seaboard to Cancun. We all settled in and got ready. We had 4 seats amongst our party in 2 pairs. It's the old Club World product. There's none of the club suites out of Gatwick, except on a very occasional emergency basis. Seat 3J for Juliet was my seat, so I wasn't next to a window, but my daughter was, so I did have the ability to use her window for filming and so on. I can manage perfectly well with the old club product, and in some ways, if you're travelling with a group with your children, it's a much better proposition, but I recognise that it's perhaps not so good, particularly for people travelling on their own. So we push back from our stand at the South Terminal. So this is the BA 2203 operating from London Gatwick across the Atlantic to Cancun. It's a Boeing 777-236ER series aircraft. Golf Yankee Mike Alpha with Rolls-Royce Trent 895 engines. 10 hours 34 minutes for 4,957 miles. I was in club class, very small club class cabin, 32 seats at the front of the aircraft with Premium Economy or World Traveller Plus and Economy World Traveller behind. You can see me there, seat 3K, 3 for kilo in the aircraft, but quite a strong World Traveller element. Departure today from Gatwick, Southampton 3 Papa, which takes us runway 8 right, and then you take a sharp turn and head out from the Detling VOR and then join up with the track for Southampton. So a fairly straightforward departure, although of course you are initially heading east as you depart Gatwick, but not for long in that turn, and then westbound. Of course, you can see the aircraft heads southwest before heading northwest. That, of course, is to avoid some of the arrivals and departures from London Heathrow. Out over the tip of Devon, Combe Martin, Ireland, across the Atlantic, Newfoundland, over Canada, and then across southern Canada and the US over Maine and Massachusetts, Long Island, to the east of New York and Washington, and then over Virginia, the Carolinas, and down across the very north end of Florida, out over the Gulf of Mexico, and heading across to Cancun, turning left as we approach the airport for a straight-in arrival from the north. So quite a long flight, just over 10 and a half hours. So good opportunity to get some rest. But having pushed back from the stand, we were now taxiing out for quite a long taxi, because we have to taxi the full length of the runway for a 08 right departure here at London's Gatwick Airport. But quite an interesting opportunity, not just to have a look at the airport, to have a look at the other terminals and stands, but of course a chance to have a look at the other aircraft. Quite a few different charter airlines, very strong EasyJet presence, of course, to be found at Gatwick. But soon we'd made our journey. We were at the threshold of runway 08 right and turning onto the runway, ready to make our departure. British Airways has both the General Electric and the Rolls-Royce 895 engine fitted to its 777-200s. This aircraft, as you can see from the markings, a Rolls-Royce variety, with the engines producing nearly 93,000 pounds of thrust from each of the power plants. So let's enjoy that takeoff from London Gatwick's 08 right. So once we'd taken off and were levelling out in the cruise, attention of course turned to the onboard service. It was great to get one of the British Airways gin zing cocktails to kick things off. Good variety of drinks on offer. You can see the menu here as I take you through it with the introduction, drinks and cocktails from the bar, and then the main meal served as lunch stroke dinner, it says. And I had the smoked salmon. You'll see that in a moment. And I also have here the light meal they served, which I did eat, but I didn't get any video of. So sorry about that. But we'll talk about that perhaps in just a second. And the wine list there as well on the back of the menu. So proceedings for me kicked off with the Scottish smoked salmon, spiced crab salad, really nice, pickled cucumber, lime and cucumber jelly. I enjoyed that. Bread roll, glass of wine, of course. And then moving on to the main course, which for me was the braised lamb with roasted courgette and carrot, parsley, potatoes, and a nice sauce. Really enjoyed that. The lamb on British Airways is always pretty good. A chocolate dessert there that wasn't actually on the menu, so I was lucky to get that. Excellent Gatwick cabin crew. They are based at Gatwick and they focus on the Gatwick long haul flights. And the Club World cabin, as I say, quite small in these aircraft, but a great team offering a good service. For my light meal, I had the saddleback bangers and mash, pork sausages, cabbage, peas, and the caramelised red onion stew. Really nice with a bit of sponge cake for afters. And of course, before long, we were on the approach into Cancun and making our descent towards the airport with some great weather on approach. So, as our British Airways 777 taxis in to its stand at Cancun, let's just reflect on that experience. Quite a long flight. You're flying right across the Atlantic and then down the eastern seaboard of the US, but two fairly substantial meals on board. It was the old club product. Some people really don't like that. For me, I don't mind, particularly helped, I guess, by having my family, my daughter sat in the opposite pair of the seat. But many of you will prefer the club suites that are being rolled out, but not on the Gatwick route. No plans to get club suites from Gatwick. You have to be fairly clear and honest about that. And here we taxi into the stand with the United Airlines 737 parked next to us. Quite a slow approach into the stand. You can see just behind the aircraft the taxiway that we descended down. Quite unusual at Cancun to have different levels. The runways at a much higher elevation to the terminal, which is slightly perplexing, but one gets used to it after a while. I think on balance, a good flight. The crew were a little bit informal, a little bit Gatwicky, if you know what I mean, but I enjoyed the flight, enjoyed the experience. The aircraft was in reasonably good shape for an aircraft that's, you know, getting on for a quarter of a century old. And it was great to be flying out of Gatwick. It's not something I've done for a while with British Airways, so an opportunity to update you on the experience, even though it was a pretty busy Easter Sunday. Well, I gathered all my belongings. Of course, one of the advantages of flying in club with BA is you do get off the plane first. I wasn't absolutely the first, but quite close to the front.
la grande fortuna de estar en tu corazón. Baila que baila la luna, baila que baila mi amor.
Not surprisingly, of course, this trip took me to Cancun to enjoy the sunshine, the facilities you find. I was staying at the Moon Palace Hotel, which was great for me because sometimes I do get withdrawal symptoms, you know, from my trains and my transit, my trams, and it was fantastic that this resort has chosen to set up its own transit system with a series of very large golf buggies, each of which operates a lettered route with a timetable and a route map, and tram or golf buggy stops that are all very ordered. It's all very Teutonic, it's very un-Mexican, very un-Latin, very, very Swiss or Scandinavian perhaps, but I really love it. And of course I spent hours having a look around the network, exploring the various stops, the route permutations, understanding the diagram structure. You might find that slightly sad, but it keeps me sane on a holiday that otherwise revolves around sea and sand. So I hope you too share a bit of an enjoyment of seeing such a fantastic little route network in the resort. I thought I'd share that with you. If you're an aviation geek, I apologise, but I know many of you have a soft spot for this sort of thing as well. So I'll leave you there. Hope you enjoyed the video. Do like, do subscribe, and I'll catch you soon.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe, and click the notification button so you don't miss any of the great trips Mark has coming your way on this YouTube channel.